So, dream theories are dumb. Let's just get that out of the way. Any theory where everything happening in a story is all just a dream or a hallucination or they're in a coma or purgatory or whatever, we can all agree that these theories tend to be very lazy and overdone and usually don't have any evidence besides, "Whoa, this fictional thing is so crazy and unrealistic. That must mean it's a dream." And I try to avoid these theories as much as possible. But on the very rare occasion where there actually is an overwhelming amount of evidence to support them, then I think dream theories can be really fun. And believe it or not, but I think that I may have found a piece of media with one of the most compelling undiscovered dream theories of all time. I am of course referring to the iconic 2000s vampire teen romance, Twilight. Now, I'm not afraid to admit that I like Twilight. I think these movies are really dumb and funny and iconic, and I just have this nostalgic sweet spot for them. If you were too cool to watch Twilight, it's basically about an awkward new girl at school who meets a mysterious, dreamy guy who keeps staring at her for some reason. But it turns out he's actually a vampire who's in love with her.
I like my own personal brand of heroin.
But oh no, there's also a werewolf who's also in love with her, and they fight because Bella is just so special and important and literal wars are fought over her. Don't these movies kind of feel like a fan fiction Bella's writing about herself? So yes, I like Twilight. I rewatch these movies every couple of years, but on my most recent rewatch, I noticed something really strange. Something that made me question everything about these movies. In the first Twilight, after Bella discovers the truth about vampires and starts her forbidden love affair with Edward, there's this evil vampire guy that shows up and decides that he wants to kill Bella.
You brought a snack.
And the epic climax of the movie is a final fight scene in an old ballet studio where the good vampires eventually defeat the evil vampire and burn his body in a big fire. But not before Bella gets injured and is hospitalized. Bella then wakes up in a hospital room with her mom, who thinks that she just fell down some stairs.
What happened? Well, when you fell, you broke your leg. You tripped. And you fell down 2 flights of stairs.
Now obviously, this is a lie that they told Bella's mom. These movies are full of lies like this to keep the vampire's existence a secret.
Whenever the weather's nice, the Collins disappear. Dr. and Mrs. Collins yank them out for like hiking and camping and stuff.
And Bella is ultimately fine in the end, and they have a beautiful happy ending where love wins. Except, there's something in Bella's hospital room that doesn't quite make sense. Something that should be completely impossible. In the background of the room is an out-of-focus TV that seems to be playing footage of some kind of fire. But if you look really closely, you'll realize that this is actually footage from the previous scene. Like, it is undeniably the fire from the vampire fight that just happened. There is no logical reason why this TV would be playing this. I mean, is this supposed to be like an Easter egg? Or were they just so lazy about what to put on the TV that they, I don't know, reused footage? I mean, that's what I initially thought, but then I noticed there's something else in this hospital room. On the far wall, there is a painting of what looks like a ballet studio, which is also exactly where the previous scene took place. I mean, this was clearly intentional. This was not a mistake or laziness. This took effort from the filmmakers to include. But why? What are they trying to tell us by including all of these very specific, intentional references to the previous scene? Well, here's my theory.
You tripped. And you fell down 2 flights of stairs.
I think that the lie about Bella falling down the stairs is the real reason why she's in the hospital, and the fiery vampire fight scene in a ballet studio that we just saw didn't actually happen. Let me explain. When Bella first woke up, she was very confused and disoriented from her injuries, and she clearly had no memory of what actually happened.
What happened? You don't remember any of this, do you?
So what if her mind invented a fantasy using the first thing she saw? A painting of a ballet studio, a TV playing some random footage of a fire, and she used these elements to convince herself that the real reason she's in the hospital is because she was attacked by an evil vampire in a ballet studio, when in reality, she actually did just trip and fall down the stairs like her mother said.
And you fell down 2 flights of stairs.
So yes, I am suggesting that the fight scene that we just saw didn't actually happen. It was all a fantasy created in Bella's head. I mean, this honestly makes more sense with how clumsy we know Bella is in these movies.
Sorry.
Whoa! Can you at least watch where you walk?
Plus, it explains why no one ever questions the massive bite mark Bella has on her arm. And also, isn't it weird that they went out of their way to show us footage of Bella falling down the stairs?
Then you tripped. And you fell down 2 flights of stairs.
Like, if this was just supposed to be a made-up throwaway lie, then they didn't really need to show it to us, right? I mean, the filmmakers probably put a lot of time and effort into this pretty difficult-looking stunt that we ultimately don't need to see if it's just a lie. But showing it makes a lot more sense if Bella falling down the stairs is what actually happened, and the fiery ballet vampire attack was just a fantasy. I feel like there's a very good chance that this is actually what the filmmakers were going for. There are a lot of very specific intentional clues here. And that is my Twilight dream theory. This one fight scene didn't actually happen. Bella was just confused after falling down some stairs. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Hang on a second. If the entire climax of the first Twilight movie wasn't real, then what else isn't real? Like, if they didn't fight in this ballet studio, then what happened to the evil vampire guy who wanted to kill Bella? Did they ever defeat him? Is he still out there? Was he ever real? And also, them killing this vampire in this ballet studio is like a very major plot point for the rest of the franchise. There are several future movies where the entire conflict hinges on this guy's girlfriend trying to take revenge because of what happened specifically in this ballet studio. But if that scene didn't really happen, then none of it could have happened. And suddenly, I am questioning everything about these movies. Are vampires even real? This scene tells us that Bella is an unreliable narrator, and we can't trust anything that we see in these movies. And I believe that there is a very good chance that all of the vampires and werewolves and everything supernatural in the Twilight movies may in fact just be something that Bella is imagining. So yes, we are doing a dumb Twilight hallucination dream theory, or whatever you want to call it. And look, it's okay if you don't fully believe me yet, because trust me, there is a lot more evidence in these movies. But before we get into the big stuff, I want to go back and take a look at what the actual story of Twilight might look like if we assume nothing supernatural is real. And again, it's okay if you're not fully on board yet. We're just gonna look at how this interpretation might change things. Oh, also, I'm only gonna be talking about the movies in this theory. I didn't read the books. Sorry. So, in the first Twilight movie, Bella Swan is the new girl at Forks High School, and she's kind of awkward and doesn't quite fit in yet. But then, she hears about this mysterious cool guy named Edward Cullen, and for some reason, he keeps staring at her from a distance. And even stranger, he can't seem to stand being near her.
Today we're going to be observing the behavior of the planarian.
Maybe it's because Edward is actually a vampire who can't resist Bella because she's just so special.
Like my own personal brand of heroin.
Or maybe it's because she was clearly awkwardly staring at him first, and also she just came from gym class, so I don't know, maybe she doesn't smell that great right now. So everything that happens at the start of this movie can be pretty easily explained away. Bella doesn't actually witness anything undeniably supernatural until she almost gets hit by a car, but then Edward uses his vampire speed and strength to save her. But once again, Just like with the ballet scene, Bella ends up in the hospital and she's given an alternate explanation for what happened.
How did you get over to me so fast?
I was standing right next to you, Bella.
No, you were next to your car, across the lot. You stopped the van. You pushed it away with your hand.
Bella, you hit your head. I think you're confused.
She's told that she's just confused and disoriented from hitting her head, and Edward was actually just standing right next to her. Nothing supernatural actually happened. Again, we're supposed to assume that these are lies to hide the fact that Edward is a vampire, but what if, just like with Bella falling down the stairs, Edward actually is telling the truth here, and Bella's memory of what happened is the lie?
You might experience some post-traumatic stress or disorientation.
I mean, isn't it strange that all of the unambiguous supernatural things that happen in these movies don't start happening until after Bella gets into an accident and possibly hits her head? It also feels like all of these supernatural things conveniently make Bella's life seem less awkward and embarrassing. Bella didn't clumsily fall down the stairs. She actually got attacked by a vampire in an exciting, epic fight scene. She didn't awkwardly embarrass herself in front of the guy she likes. He's actually a vampire who can't resist her, and he used his vampire powers to save her because he's in love with her. Don't these sound like excuses she's making up? Now look, I'm not trying to say that Bella is this sad, crazy person who can never accept her mistakes or flaws. I think she's genuinely going through a tough time in her life, and this might just be a way for her to cope with things. Plus, she might have a head injury that's seriously affecting her perception of reality. So I do feel a lot of sympathy for Bella in this interpretation of the movie. From this point on, Bella keeps witnessing more and more supernatural things. And I think these could all be fantasies that are fueled by the old local legends she hears about, and late-night internet research that just ends up confirming her biases. Oh my god, his hand was cold. That must mean he's a vampire. I mean, to be fair, I've done shit like this in these videos. I can't really criticize her. We even hear directly from Bella that during this time, she's been dreaming a lot about Edward.
That was the first night I dreamt of Edward Cullen.
And after Edward finally does reveal to her that he's a sparkly vampire and Bella accepts him for who he is, we literally immediately cut to Bella in her bed daydreaming. I mean, this transition really feels like that scene was all in her head. It's almost like Bella never actually interacted with the real Edward Cullen after their first couple of awkward encounters.
I'm afraid you'll have to stay in biology.
Just have to endure it.
Bella then goes to Edward's house and meets all of his vampire family, and they spend a bunch of romantic time together.
You better hold on tight, spider monkey.
But then, right after this, we get a really weird scene with Bella at a diner with just her dad, where they talk about how Bella is always alone.
What about any of these other yahoos in town? Anybody interest you?
Dad, we can talk about boys?
Yeah, I guess not. I feel like I leave you alone too much. You should be around people.
I don't really mind being alone.
Which is a weird thing for her to say after she literally just spent a bunch of time with Edward and his family. And it's not like her relationship with Edward is this big secret, because right after this scene, she introduces him to Edward.
I want to formally introduce myself. I'm Edward Cullen.
Hi, Edward.
So why lie here? This conversation almost feels like a moment of truth is poking through, and Bella briefly admits to herself that she's not actually spending time with a bunch of vampires.
I don't really mind being alone.
And then we get the iconic vampire baseball scene that we all love.
Okay, now I see why you need the thunder.
And if you're wondering why Bella would imagine a vampire baseball game of all things, well, the scene right before Bella leaves with Edward to play is Bella on the phone with her mom talking about baseball.
So, how's all the baseball stuff going?
Oh, Phil's working so hard. You know, spring training. We're looking for a house to rent in case things become more permanent.
Once again, I think Bella's fantasies are taking inspiration from her real life. Her mom sounds pretty happy spending time with her new husband in his new baseball career, so maybe that's why Bella imagined her own version of that happiness.
Oh, Phil's working so hard. You know, spring training.
Then, of course, the evil vampire guy shows up and wants to kill Bella, so she has to run far away to keep herself and her father safe. But in order to convince Charlie to let her leave, she says some pretty horrible stuff to him.
Look, Bella, I know I'm not that much fun to be around, but I can change that. We can do more stuff together.
Like what? Like watch baseball on the flat screen? Eat at the diner every night? Steak and cobbler? Dad, that's you, that's not me.
Bella, come on. I just got you back.
Yeah, and you know, if I don't get out now, then I'm just gonna be stuck here like Mom.
Now, we're supposed to think that this is a lie she made up to protect him. But of course, we know that there is a very good chance everything about this evil vampire guy and Bella running away to have an epic fight in a ballet studio is the actual lie. So, in the moment, I do think Bella actually means what she says to Charlie here.
Yeah, and you know, if I don't get out now, then I'm just gonna be stuck here like Mom.
Now, of course, Bella feels bad about this later, which is probably another reason why she'd invent a fantasy about an evil vampire hunting her. I mean, it's not her fault she said those terrible things to her father. She's not a bad daughter. She was actually protecting him from the evil vampire. She doesn't need to feel guilty. Again, I'm not trying to say that Bella is this terrible, irredeemable person. She's clearly going through a lot, and after falling down some stairs, she does come back and apologize to her dad. And that is the story of the first Twilight movie without the supernatural. And again, it's okay if you're not fully on board yet, because the next movie in the saga is where everything really starts to click together. So let's take a look at Twilight: New Moon. In New Moon, Edward leaves Bella because he believes she'd be safer if she wasn't around a bunch of vampires. And this movie is about Bella dealing with that breakup and eventually getting closer with her friend Jacob, who then suddenly turns into a sexy werewolf guy who also loves her. But in the end, Bella is reunited with Edward and they live happily ever after again. Now, New Moon is full of little things that line up really well with this theory. I'm just gonna quickly speed run through them. There's the way Edward suddenly disappears when Bella's dad comes in the room.
I'll never fail you again. Charlie's coming.
Hey.
Obviously, we're supposed to assume he used vampire speed, but it also kind of gives off a Bella was actually alone talking to herself vibe. Here's one I really like. Jacob gives Bella a dream catcher and holds it right in front of Edward, almost like we're symbolically equating Edward to a dream.
Catches bad dreams.
There's also lots of lines after the breakup that really feel like they're directly telling us that the vampire boyfriend version of Edward and his family were never actually real.
It'll be like I never existed.
The pain is my only reminder that he was real. I don't see Edward anymore. Will it really feel like he never existed?
Bella also has this wolf painting in her room before she finds out Jacob is a werewolf, so maybe that's another real-life inspiration example. And also, once again, in this movie, Bella gets into another 2 accidents where she hits her head. So if Bella didn't already have severe head trauma affecting her, then she definitely does now. But the most interesting thing in this movie is the way that Bella unambiguously hallucinates Edward after he leaves.
Keep walking. Stop.
You alright?
This is never explained as some kind of supernatural vampire thing. Bella is just straight up hallucinating, and now it's being directly acknowledged by the narrative.
I thought that I saw something.
You're insane, actually.
I saw him. Maybe I'm crazy now. I guess that's okay.
I think that the true story of New Moon is really about Bella struggling to hold on to her fantasy and slowly coming to terms with her reality.
I don't see Edward anymore. Will it really feel like he never existed?
Maybe the real-life, non-vampire Edward and his family did actually move away from Forks, and now their absence at school is making it harder for Bella to keep her epic vampire romance fantasy going. And now, when imaginary Edward does rarely appear, it's much more obvious to her that he's not actually real. There's specifically a moment when Bella revisits the field that she used to spend time with Edward in that really gives this feeling like she's actually realizing it was all a lie.
I will find a place where I can see him again.
Bella then realizes that the only way to get Edward and her fantasies to come back is by getting into more life-threatening accidents, just like the ones that originally started these delusions.
If a rush of danger is what it takes to see him, then that's what I'll find.
But it only works temporarily, and eventually there's a point in this movie where Bella starts spending a little more time with her real-life friend Jacob, and a little less time focusing on the vampire Edward fantasy.
I wish I could tell you about Jake. He makes me feel better. He makes me feel alive.
And it seems like she might actually start to accept her real life for what it is, and finally be willing to let go of all of these supernatural fantasies. But then something changes. As Jacob and Bella get closer, it becomes clear that Jacob wants something more romantic from her. But Bella, understandably, isn't really interested in something like that right now, so she keeps turning him down.
Probably has that flu that's going around.
What? I can't hold your hand?
Jake, please, don't do this.
Why?
Because you're about to ruin everything. And I need you.
And then suddenly, Jacob decides to leave Bella and completely stop talking to her.
Jake, your dad says you have mono. He won't let me visit, but would you call me? Hey, it's me again. I'm sorry about what I said at the movie theater. I just wanted to hear your voice, so no pressure. Jacob, please, call me.
This is obviously very tough and confusing for Bella, and it's very similar to what she experienced with Edward at the start of the first movie. And I think this unfortunately leads to Bella backsliding into her fantasies again, because the very next time she sees Jacob, oh look, he suddenly looks completely different, and then oh, he's also a sexy werewolf now, and he was actually just avoiding Bella to protect her, just like Edward.
I promised I wouldn't hurt you, Bella. And this is me keeping that promise.
See, it wasn't her fault that he left. Everything's happy again. Yay! This is pretty much exactly what happened in the first movie. Bella felt alone and embarrassed, and she got a head injury, and then suddenly a big supernatural fantasy took over her life. I even feel like it's the same situation where she never actually saw the real Jacob again, and everything after him shutting her out is a complete fantasy, just like Vampire Edward. But having a fantasy werewolf Jacob back in her life is not enough for Bella this time. She still wants Edward back too.
I'm all right. Until I'm alone. But I realize where I have to go. What I have to do to see him again.
So now she's convinced herself that the only way to do that is by taking some very drastic measures, and Bella decides to jump off of an extremely dangerous cliff into the ocean.
Don't do this. Please.
You won't stay with me any other way.
Bella accidentally hits her head and gets knocked unconscious, and it seems like she's about to actually drown. But then thankfully, Jacob is able to suddenly show up out of nowhere and pull her out at the last second, and she thankfully survives.
Come on, Bella. Breathe. Bella.
And also, her plan seems to have worked because she's immediately given an opportunity to be fully reunited with the vampire Edward in another epic climax, this time set in Italy. And once again, they live happily ever after, and that is the story of Twilight New Moon. Except, just like last time, there's another very strange hidden detail that heavily implies that the climax of this movie also wasn't real. It's something that, if you don't believe this theory yet, I guarantee will convince you that I'm onto something here. At the start of New Moon, Bella is learning about Romeo and Juliet in school, and she's specifically watching the scene where Romeo falsely believes Juliet is dead, so he takes his own life.
Oh, my love, my wife, death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath hath had no power yet upon thy beauty.
And this is pretty much exactly what happens later in New Moon's climax. Edward falsely believes Bella drowned after jumping off the cliff, so he tries to expose his sparkly vampire skin in public, which would force the evil head vampire guys to kill him. Now, this does work really well with my theory. You could definitely make the case that this inspired Bella's fantasy later on. But I'm also not gonna pretend like this is the most mind-blowing smoking gun ever. I mean, this is obviously just pretty basic foreshadowing. Lots of shows and movies have done this exact same thing. They do it in Breaking Bad, they do it every fucking 10 seconds in Stranger Things. It's not that big of a deal. But what makes this example different from any of your other standard run-of-the-mill foreshadowings is the Romeo and Juliet book that Bella was reading. A book that we only see for a few seconds at the very start of the movie. Because if you look really closely, not only can you see the exact same red cloaks that everyone is wearing in the climax, but also the same exact fucking building that the climax takes place in. Literally, this building is the evil head vampire lair that shows up in all of the future Twilight movies. This is not just a cute little coincidence or foreshadowing. This is literally an exact photo of what will happen at the end of this movie, just like with the ballet studio. Bella read the book and saw this cover, and that's what she used to imagine this entire fake climactic scene. There is no other explanation for this. The vampires and the werewolves in these movies are all inside of Bella's head. I am sorry if that ruins the fun of Twilight for you, but the evidence here is pretty hard to argue with. Okay, so after New Moon, it seems like Bella fully embraces her fantasy forever. Because going forward, these movies kind of go off the rails and fully commit to being large-scale, epic, supernatural Marvel movies where tons of crazy stuff is always happening, and there's not really any more signs of what's actually happening in Bella's real life. And this is about where I planned on ending this video, because it felt like everything in this theory was wrapped up pretty nicely. But there was still something that was bothering me. A single question that I've been trying to ignore because it implies something really far out there and uncomfortable, even for this already insane video. But unfortunately, I couldn't stop myself from asking this one final question. How exactly did Bella get out of the water at the end of New Moon? Well, obviously, Jacob pulled her out at the last second, right? But if you believe my theory, then you know there's a pretty good chance Jacob isn't real. At least the short hair, fantasy, werewolf version of Jacob. The real Jacob seems like he's been out of Bella's life for some time now, so again, how exactly did she survive? In fact, there's actually a lot of really suspicious things about Bella's escape. I mean, there's the way that Jacob just kind of comes out of nowhere at the last second, even though he had no idea she was doing this. And then there's the fact that Edward believed that Bella died in the water.
Bella, it's Edward. He thinks you're dead.
What if the reason for all of these contradictions is because Bella was never actually pulled out of the water? What if Bella actually drowned?
I didn't see you get pulled out of the water either.
So yeah, this is the dumb idea that I couldn't stop thinking about. What if Bella actually died after cliff diving at the end of New Moon, and everything after this is just something she's imagining in her final moments? So yes, I am officially committing to a dumb purgatory coma theory or whatever, and yes, I know it sounds like a stretch, even for this video, but you gotta admit, there's something kind of interesting about it. It explains why this series has such a shift into full-on fantasy blockbuster after this movie. And these movies already have a precedent for your life flashing before your eyes when you're close to death. So it's not too far-fetched that Bella would be imagining years worth of things in this one little moment. And even the story of Twilight after New Moon kind of lines up with what Bella would be experiencing in the water. One of the main focuses in these movies from now on is whether or not Bella will be turned into a vampire and the consequences of that.
I have to figure out what to tell people. Why they'll never see me again.
I don't care how miserable your human life is. We'll always be this, frozen, never moving forward.
You wouldn't have to change for me, Bella, or say goodbye to anybody.
On one hand, she'll get to live forever in a fantasy vampire world, but she'll have to give up her life and leave everyone she cares about, with them believing she died.
Is that Charlie?
Eventually we'll have to tell him you didn't make it.
He needs to mourn, Bella.
You gotta admit, it's a pretty similar dilemma to what Bella is facing here in the water, as she's on the brink of losing her life and her loved ones forever.
Why they'll never see me again.
Eventually we'll have to tell him you didn't make it.
There's also a lot of repeated water and cliff imagery after this point, almost like a constant reminder of Bella's real circumstances is bleeding through. In Breaking Dawn during her honeymoon, Bella even jumps off of another cliff into water, and then a song plays in the background that says, "Only a dream." I think specifically the idea of Bella's dad grieving her after her death is an especially big source of guilt that's manifesting in her fantasy. And we even get a supposedly fake imaginary visual representation of what that would look like. But just like with them showing us Bella falling down the stairs, I think there's a good chance that this funeral vision is actually what happened and everything else is the lie. And look, I know this final death theory is pretty far out there, but I still have one final thing to share with you that I think you'll find very, very interesting. Right after we're shown this funeral, we cut to Jacob speculating about how vampire Bella might fake her death, and listen closely to what he says.
Maybe they'll say she was in a car crash. Or tripped and fell off a cliff.
Maybe they'll say she tripped and fell off a cliff. And he is saying this literally at the same La Push beach where Bella jumped.
Or tripped and fell off a cliff.
Eventually we'll have to tell him you didn't make it.
Why they'll never see me again.
They never existed.
So, there you go. It's up to you whether you want to believe this little extra final drowning theory, but I think there's some pretty compelling evidence for it. And of course, even though Bella's guilt and struggles do manifest here, ultimately this is still all a wish fulfillment fantasy where everything gets to work out in the end. So Bella doesn't actually lose Charlie, and everyone still gets their happy endings, and I think that is at least a nice, comforting final thought for Bella as she drifts away into the water. And that is my Twilight dream theory. I know it is very sad and very dark, but at the end of the day, it's just a new way to look at these movies, so you can take it or leave it. But I think it adds a lot of interesting new layers on a rewatch. I'm sure I will keep making more dumb dream theories that end with a character having a final death hallucination. I promise I'm not trying to do this on purpose, but until then, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. I'm Team Edward, by the way, if you were curious. I was Team Jacob for a bit, but once he imprinted on the baby, then they lost me.